Well, welcome. I'm going to be doing a video on fractions in the distributive property. We can see here we have a, a coefficient out in front, and then we have a normal type equation, ax plus b inside on both left and right hand sides, and then we also have a denominator on each side. And it goes along with this assignment we see right here in Canvas. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and get in there and look at this one problem that we have here. Let me see if I can find it. Let's see, I think it's that one right there, number 1. Let me go through some steps before we get too far. Now, one thing that you've always been taught in math is that you always need to distribute first. Well, on this type of problem, we don't want to do that yet. We want to wait until we clear the denominator. And so everything else is the same way. We want to find a common denominator first. We're going to use multiplication by 1 to both sides to clear our denominator. And once we do that, we're going to end up having to distribute. And what's different about this is you basically have to distribute twice. And once we get done with step 4, we end up with an equation like we've done a couple of weeks ago. Basically, we've been doing that type of an equation for the last 3.5 weeks. Now when you look at this equation, you can see that I've got a 5, 6, and I've got something right here. I wouldn't worry about that right now. We'll take care of that. And then over here I have a negative 7 over 8. And then I have something there. And you can see we're only really dealing with two fractions. And the way that it's written, it looks kind of confusing, but really that's what we're dealing with. So you can see right here that our common denominator is going to be 48. All right, and so that's what we're going to be doing. And instead of, we're going to write this a little bit differently. So you can see on this side I need to multiply by 8 on the bottom. And then I'm going to write this up here, 8 on top. Usually when I write it out in front, I kind of always forget this number. And so I'm going to write it right there to help me remember it. And then right here in the front we'll do the 6. And then right here we're going to do the 6 right here. So you can see that we'll end up multiplying by 1 to both these. Okay, so let me erase this and we'll go ahead and get started, and you can see how this really works out. And it's probably easier than the ones that we were doing the other day. Okay, so I know my common denominator is going to be 48. I'm missing the 6 times the 8, so that 6 is missing the 8, so I'm going to write it right there, and then I'm also going to do it to the top. And then the 8 is missing the 6, so I'm going to do it here, and I'm going to do it here. Okay. So we multiplied both sides by 1, and now we're going to clear our denominator. And now look at what I have. I have 8 times that negative 5. That's going to give me a negative 40. And then I have 6 times that negative 7. 6 times that negative 7. And that's going to give me a negative 42. So there's where we distribute once. And now we have to do it again, and this is what it's going to look like. I have 40, 6x minus 3 equals a negative 42 times 5x plus 3. So now that turned into a problem that we did last week. And so now we're just going to solve it like we normally would. All right, let's take the outside, times it to the inside. We do it to both terms on both sides. Our denominator's gone. And negative 40 times 6 will give me a negative 240 with an x, and then a positive times a positive will give me a positive 120. Negative times a positive will give me a negative, and that's a negative 210x. And this will give me a negative 126. So the math is still the same, isn't it? 126. Okay. All right, now we're going to get our variables to go to 0 on the right-hand side, so add 210. We'll add 210. So everything else is just like it was on all the problems that we've done since about October the 26th. This one's bigger than that one, so I'm going to subtract. Subtract them, I get 30. It takes the sign of the bigger one. And now I'm going to subtract 120 from this side. It goes to 0. I subtract 120 from this side, and I get a negative 246. Okay, let's drop down, and we're going to rewrite these two pieces and make us one equation. Rewrite our equation. That equals a negative 246. I'll divide each side by a negative 30 because I want to use a 1 right here. To turn that to a 1, I divide it by a negative 30. And then I'm going to use Desmos to help me simplify this. So let me bring up Desmos. I've got it right here. So we're going to type in a negative 246 over negative 30. So negative 246 divided by negative 30. And you can see over here to this side, that's what I get from my fraction. It's a decimal. I want to turn it to a fraction. So I click on it. I get 41 divided by 5. So that's my answer right there, 41 divided by 5. Okay, now we're going to go and put our answers into Canvas. So here's question number 1. It says, what common denominator should you use? Well, the common denominator that I used right here was 48, right? So I'm going to type in 48. Now, this is really important. You need to read these. After clearing the denominator and distributing, what is the expression on the left side? And it's talking about this right here. Here where we cleared our denominator, right? We cleared our denominator, and then we distributed here to get the negative 40 goes here. We take that 6, multiply to that negative 7 to distribute, and then right here we have to distribute twice. So part A and B is talking about these equations right here, this equation right here, the left-hand side and the right-hand side. So after clearing the denominator and distributing, what is the expression on the left side? Well, the left side would be a negative 240x plus 120. And then what's the expression on the right-hand side after clearing the denominator? See right here on this one. And that would be the right-hand side of negative 210x minus 126. And then what did we get for our solution? Our solution was this right here. So 41, just write 41 divided by 5. Now I'm going to go ahead and submit this, even though there's more questions I could do on this quiz. And then we'll go back through and we'll see what it gave us. So there's problem number 1. No red partial marks. It's the whole thing, and there's the answers that we typed in. So that's how you do these problems with doing the distributive property with fractions on both sides.